And today I want to talk about seller financing. We are investors that essentially work with homeowners that need to sell for whatever reason. Could be that they're relocating, could be that it's a probate situation, it could be they're in notice of default or pre-foreclosure, or maybe they've just been on the market trying to sell for a long period of time and they haven't been able to sell. Maybe they were working with a realtor, the listing is expired. Could be various reasons. And what we do is we connect them with a buyer that is having trouble buying or trouble getting financing. Maybe that property doesn't get financed. Maybe the buyer has not so good credit. Maybe they're an investor that has had too many loans or financed at the bank. The bank won't finance them. Or maybe they are a self-employed business owner, and banks don't like lending to self-employed business owners. So where we come in is we connect those two. Someone that needs to sell or really has a motivation to sell or trouble selling, and we connect them with that buyer. Now, seller financing can be labeled many different ways. Some people call it owner carryback, owner financing, seller carryback. It's an installment loan. However you label it, essentially, the home seller replaces the bank and decides to carry and provide the financing to the buyer. Now, that homeowner could be replaced by a private lender or somebody that wants to invest in that loan and carry the financing themselves. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But however it works, the bank is no longer involved. There's no bank involved. Okay. Everything does go through a title company. Money is exchanged through a title company. We don't take the money. Also, the loan is going to be boarded with a loan servicer where the payments are made and distributed to the seller or any investor that is involved. So, and most of you that have had a mortgage have probably received a letter in the mail that said, hey, we are no longer collecting your payment. Your payment should now be made to X company or X firm. So sometimes those are private lenders that those payments are moving to, because that secondary market of buying and selling notes happens all the time. And sometimes that's where we come in, or it comes in where a homeowner decides to carry the financing and they want to cash out, or they want to sell part of their notes or whatever. So one thing I want to show you here really quick is just kind of make a distinction between the conventional way of selling and the private lending structure that we provide. So in a conventional situation, you have a bank who provides a loan to a buyer. The buyer pays cash to the seller, and then the seller oftentimes takes that money, puts it back in the bank, earning 0.2% or less, maybe slightly more. Or that money's just sitting there. Maybe they're looking for another place to invest that money. So that would be how it would normally work. Now, what we provide in the private lending situation, or let me see if I can bring that slide up. Doesn't seem to be coming up. Here we go. Where a retiree or private lender replaces the bank in the event that the seller does not want to carry the financing. Okay, so what we do is we help create and structure the note for the seller who offers the financing to the buyer. And if the seller doesn't want to carry, the retiree or private lender comes in and buys that note and carries the financing. And the buyer makes payments to the retiree or the private lender, not a bank. Okay. This situation works out for all parties involved. It's never a one-sided situation. It doesn't work unless it's a win situation for everyone. But without a bank involved, um, there are better returns for people and a pretty secure situation for everyone involved, the buyer, the seller, or retiree or private lender. Okay, so basically what we do is we present and provide this situation, and the reality is that most people don't know about seller financing. I have conversations with people all the time about this, and it's usually they've never heard of it, and it takes a while for them to understand it. And they ask me if it's even legal. It's legal. This happens all the time, every day. In addition to this, when we create the note, that note can be sold. It's a first position note with an above average rate of return. So for a private lender investor, they can come in and buy that note from the seller. They can come and cash out that seller at close, where the seller doesn't even have to carry the financing. Okay. So there's a lot of times in education that is involved with helping people understand what the seller financing is. Most people are only familiar with the conventional or traditional way of buying a home. Now, we really need to understand a homeowner's situation in order to know if this is the best situation for them, or whether they will carry the financing, or whether we need to bring in a private lender. Okay, so we really need to understand what is important and what's needed by the seller, because there are always objections that come into play. People just want to be out. A home seller just wants to be out. They want to cash out. They want cash now. They don't want to carry the financing. Okay. They don't want a rent to own situation. The last conversation I had with a home seller, she says she doesn't want a rent to own. Okay. This isn't a rent to own. The buyer goes on title. Okay. As a home seller, they're no longer taking care of maintenance needs and fixing light bulbs and cleaning up trash and any of that stuff. They're not involved anymore. If you're the bank, you collect the payments. You're not maintaining the property. Okay. Also, what if, another objection, what if the buyer doesn't pay me? Well, when we structure this loan in a way that makes it sellable, meaning that it has an above average rate of return. Okay. It's carried by and boarded with a loan servicer who collects the payments and distributes the payments. Okay. And the payments are structured where they're less than what the buyer would pay going across the street and paying for rent. Not only that, they put 15 to 20% down payment. They're vetted. They're in there. They've got skin in the game. Okay. Now, what are the benefits to a seller or someone who's going to carry that financing? Well, it opens the market to stronger buyers that have the ability to pay in cash. There's a faster close. There's no need for an appraisal. There are no extra realtor fees. There's no bank involved. Okay. Everything does go through a title company. Okay. The loan is structured to create value. So that seller might carry the payments for a while and say, you know what, I don't want to carry payments anymore. We can sell that note. That seller can sell part of the note if they want cash. Worst case scenario, we take back the house and then structure another note loan and sell it again. I mean, oftentimes in that worst case scenario, it's the most profitable. Okay. And also it creates an investment opportunity for people that want above average rates of return secured by real estate. Now, what I want to do is just go into my handy dandy T-Value software, and let's see if I can do that without, let's see, we'll go here. Okay, so here we've got my T-Value software, and I just want to lay out this loan because I've done a lot of training on partial notes, buying and selling in the secondary market, and I would give presentations and go through these amortizations showing the magic of partials, being able to carry the financing and sell a partial note. Retirees oftentimes they like to invest in something that gives them 5, 7, 10 years of cash flow. They might not invest in the whole 30 years. That's a benefit to that seller. Okay, so let's just say here we have a 7% interest rate on a loan. I'm going to move this back to January 1 because it helps me show you the cash flows. It's a $100,000 note. So that means that we sold the property for around 115 or 120. Okay. The other benefit to seller financing, you sell at a premium. Seller financing is like having granite counters or being at a good location. It's an added amenity where people will pay extra. We provided something additional for them. Okay, we've got a market of buyers who can pay. Okay, monthly payment on that is $665 a month. Okay, I want to show you the amortization because this is just magical stuff here. Now, you could be a homeowner that decides to carry the financing on this, and let's say could be numerous situations. But let's just lay this out here. First of all, you would have collected around, let's just say $15,000 down payment up front. Now you've collected let's just say a year's worth of payments. 11th, 12th payment brings us up close to $8,000. So let's say you've collected $8,000 in the first year. Look at this. Your balance is still $98,984, almost $99,000. You collected $8,000 in the first year. If you sold this note after 1 year and you sold it at par, you're going to get almost $99,000 plus the $15,000 you got up front and $8,000 you got in the first year. That's $23,000 over already. Okay. Now here, if that seller decides at that point that, I want some cash, one, they can sell the whole note at par. Even if they sell a little discount, they still made a decent return. They might want to just sell partial note. They need cash. And if they sell the next 5 years of payments, 60 payments, I already ran the calculation and I'll show you in a second. But that's roughly $34,000. And that would be, they collected 12, they sold 60. That brings us the payment 72. So if they're still carrying the financing, that loan comes back to them after payment 72 with $92,691, almost $93,000. They collected $15,000. They collected $8,000 in the first year. They collected $34,000. So that's 42. That's $57,000, and now they still have a $92, almost $93,000 balance coming, still owed to them. It's magical stuff here. Just to show you a quick situation on this partial. Let's say with 60 payments they sold at 7% return, we're going to solve for the present value on that. $33,598 is what they made when they sold those 60 payments. The loan comes back to them with $92,000 balance. This is great stuff. I love it. If any of you have questions, feel free to give me a call. I have my information on the screen at the end. You can email me at thenoteconsultants@gmail.com. It's Marcus Malika. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it.